Welcome back to Math 171, Pre-Calculus Algebra. In this video, we're going to derive the quadratic formula and then use it to solve an equation. So in order to derive the quadratic formula, we're going to start with a generic quadratic, ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So the first thing we're going to do here is subtract c from both sides. So ax squared plus bx is equal to negative c. Now we're going to divide both sides of this equation by a. So we're going to have x squared plus b over a, x, is equal to minus c over a. Well, now we need to make that a perfect square on the left-hand side. So remember, we can divide what's in front of the x by 2 and square it. So b over 2a squared. And we'll do that to the other side. B over 2a squared. So now go ahead and factor the left-hand side. So x plus b over 2a squared. And on the right-hand side, I'm going to have to do some work. So first, I'm going to go ahead and square the b over 2a. Now that should not be an equal sign. That should be a plus sign. So 4a squared there. Now I need to get a common denominator. So leaving the left-hand side alone for now, I'm going to multiply the first fraction on the right by 4a to give me minus 4ac over 4a squared plus b squared over 4a squared. And then we can put that over the same denominator. So x plus b over 2a squared is equal to, and I'm going to write this in the more familiar order, b squared minus 4ac divided by 4a squared. So now we can take the square root of both sides. So the left-hand side just gives me x plus b over 2a. On the right-hand side, I am going to use a trick here. b squared minus 4ac, and because we're doing this to solve a quadratic, that's got to be plus or minus. And then denominator, I'm just going to put square root of 4a squared for now, but then in the next step, I'm going to simplify that. So x plus b over 2a is equal to plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a and now I can subtract the b over 2a from both sides. So minus b over 2a plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a, and then we can just write that over one denominator And it's the formula that you recognize, and we even used it in the last chapter. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that is the quadratic formula. And now we'll go ahead and use it to solve a quadratic. So we have 2x squared minus 6x plus 1 equals 0. So we'll immediately note that a equals 2, b equals negative 6, c equals 1. And we'll plug it into the quadratic formula. X equals minus a negative 6, or positive 6, plus or minus the square root of b squared, or negative 6 squared, minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is 1, all over 2 times a, which is 2. So x is equal to 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 8 over 4, which is 6 plus or minus the square root of 28 over 4. Square root of 28 simplifies to 2 square root of 7. And then I can factor a 2 out of the numerator. And then I can cancel a factor of 2 and I get 3 plus or minus the square root of 7 over 2. And of course, the book would want that with the curly braces around it, so 3 plus or minus square root of 7 over 2. So that's solving an equation using the quadratic formula. In the next video, we're going to talk about some of the properties that we can use to graph a quadratic function.